any issue. Ian Mitchell at 3aw.com.au.
Prime Minister's with me, Scott Morrison. Good morning.
Good morning, Neil. Good to be here.
Got little lights you can put on your car so you can come roaring down the middle of the road?
Well, I'll struggle through the traffic like every other Australian does here in Melbourne. That's why we've got to bust this congestion.
Okay, we'll get to that in a moment. Yeah. We're into an election campaign. Can you give me 4 or 5 words? What's your pitch? What's your slogan? Why should we vote for you?
Under the Australia I'll continue to lead, our economy will be stronger, Australians will be safer, and I'll continue to bring Australians together. Without a strong economy, you cannot pay for the hospitals and schools that you need, and under Bill Shorten, the economy will be weaker.
4 or 5 words then. It's stronger economy, safer Australia, come together.
That's it.
You got the slogan yet?
I'll leave that to others, but that's what I've been talking about from the day I became Prime Minister. Those 3 things, Neil, you probably call for that first press conference I did. That's what I want to do. Keep our economy strong, keep Australians safe, and keep bringing Australians together.
The polls aren't good. You didn't get any real bounce from that offshore processing issue, and that was pushed pretty hard. You still reckon you can win?
Yes, absolutely, because this is the stark choice. I mean, when your economy is facing the stiff headwinds that we are, I mean, yesterday unemployment came down to the lowest level in 7 years, 4.9%. Youth unemployment down to the lowest level in 7 years. And our economy facing headwinds is going to put all that at risk, and you don't hand the economic wheel to someone who doesn't know how to drive, and that's the Labor Party.
Well, it's good. A lot of people say it's going to happen. All the polls say it's going to happen.
No, that's
They're all wrong.
The polls always say this, and people say this and that about the polls. But you know who gets to decide? Australians when they turn up to vote.
Well, we changed Prime Minister on the basis of the polls.
Well, on the basis of who is elected at the next election, that's going to be done by the Australian people, and they'll get to have their say in May.
Speaking of that, is Malcolm Turnbull going to campaign for the government?
He already is. He has,
no, he's not. In Flinders?
No, he's been
Ask Greg Hunt about that.
No, he's been supporting, particularly Dave Sharma in Wentworth.
Okay, so you'll be out there campaigning for you?
I assume he'll be out there in Wentworth supporting Dave.
You asked him to keep his head down a bit and not cause trouble?
No, we haven't had that conversation.
Do you think you
don't
will?
feel the need to have that conversation, no.
Well, he's campaigning against one of your ministers in Flinders.
Well, he's been nowhere near Flinders.
Or what about his statement? Yes, all right. One Nation. Now, I saw on ad nauseum on the project last night, you're not going to commit to putting them below or Labor in the preferences at this stage anyway. There's no decision.
Well, we've just got a process, Neil, and we'll make that decision in accordance with our normal process, not because the Labor Party wants to go around, trying to force us into making decisions. I mean, at the last election, it was the Labor Party that benefited from One Nation preferences to win seats like Longman and Dobell. So it's a bit rich for the Labor Party to go around giving us lectures, particularly on the same day when they've got the leader of the Labor Party in New South Wales, Michael Daly, saying that Asian immigrants take our jobs.
Well, the union movement has also said put the Liberals last.
The union, yeah. So look, we're not going to take lectures from the Labor Party. Okay. We'll make the decision the way we always do, and we're certainly not going to do any deals with them. And we've got the Labor Party doing deals with the Shooters Party up in my home state.
And you won't do deals with the Shooters?
No.
Will you preference them?
Well, we won't do any deals with them, so that means
you haven't decided on preferences there either?
No, it'll just be done when we know who all the nominees are, because we learnt this. I mean, we've had people with very extreme views pop up in all sorts of seats, and so, let's just wait to see who nominates, and then we'll make the decision in the normal way.
Well, look at the One Nation beast. Pauline Hanson, is she a racist?
Look, Pauline has expressed extremely strong views on these issues over a long period of time. I must say, in more recent times, particularly in this term of Parliament, we've worked closely with Pauline on a lot of important issues like family court issues, which I know she feels very passionately about. I think it's pretty easy to sort of say, and I'm not suggesting you're saying this, Neil, but just go, well, they have a view on this and they've got nothing to contribute on any other issue. And so I tend to deal with people on the issues they present to me. And Pauline has never raised and come to me over those issues. What she's been coming to me about is things like how welfare is spent and ensuring there's integrity in the welfare system. Well, and she has very deep concerns about the way the family court system works.
She's described today as a racist and a bigot. Is that fair?
Look, what I said last Monday when I was here in Melbourne is I don't think it helps that we constantly go back to just herding people into tribes and seeking to create further conflict around this stuff. I want us to all step back from all that. I want us to step back from all the name calling. I want us to step back and say, how about we just deal with the issues that are in front of us and stop treating politics like a sport where you have to pick sides and throw rocks.
Well, let's look at One Nation, the party then. Do One Nation policies represent Australian values, or are they at odds with Australian values?
Well, they're not consistent with certainly my party.
Are they anti-Australian in their values?
I said last night that I think there is a lack of knowledge or awareness or understanding, particularly when it comes to Islam in Australia. And it can be sort of stereotyped. I think there's no doubt about that. And I think it's the job of leaders such as myself to improve that understanding. But the question is, are all of their policies inconsistent with Australian values? Well, many of their policies are not policies I would share. And
Which one?
Well, I don't share their views when it comes to how they see a role for big government in this country. I don't share their views for intervening in so many different parts with additional regulation and things like that. When it comes to their views on immigration and the fact that they believe that, it is certain types of people in the immigration program which are the issue. No, I've never shared those
Isn't
views.
Isn't that in itself racist? If you base immigration on race?
Well, Neil, what I'm not going to do today, which is I think what you're inviting me to do.
Well, I'm interested in tiptoeing around One Nation. Why are you being so careful?
Because I don't think it helps, Neil, for us to get into this slanging match between all of the personalities here. What happened last Friday was abominable. And I think the right response in relation to that is not to get into tit for tat between political parties and start, this person's this and that person that, and they're to blame for this and they're to blame for that. I think the right thing to do is to reach out to the Muslim community and give them a big hug. The right thing for me to do is to turn up at a Coptic church on Sunday with my family and pray for the victims in a Christian church that actually knows quite a lot about being impacted by these sorts of attacks. I think the right thing to do was for me to stand up in Melbourne and say, hey, how about we treat each other as individuals and not members of groups and try and set them against each other for public entertainment.
Well, do you think Pauline Hanson supports you in that philosophy?
I have no idea. I've never discussed it with her. Well, it's not for me to have a view about that. It's for her to have a view about what she does, and she's accountable, as is her party, as is every party, for their own decisions and all the things that they say. I'm responsible for what the Liberal Party does and what my government does.
True, but you will to an extent be judged on your reaction to parties like this. I mean, you're quite happy to take Fraser Anning's head off for what he did, which was obscene, which was
abominable.
Wrong. But sometimes Pauline Hanson goes, she won't even condemn Fraser Anning.
Yeah. Well, I certainly don't agree with her on that. That's for sure. And
but you can take his head off.
Absolutely didn't agree with what she did in the Parliament when she wore the burqa into Parliament. I thought that disrespected the Parliament, we made those comments at the time. So, look, again though, Neil, I don't think it helps the debate if we make it about the personalities. I think what helps the debate is by being constructive. Yesterday, I was down at Punt Road with Bashir Hurley, and we announced $15 million for the project we've got going down there, not just with his leadership program with Muslim Australians, but also for young Indigenous kids. That's what we should be doing.
The reason I did raise it, by the way, Kevin Rudd has tweeted, it's appalling that Morrison, can't simply state Liberals and Nationals put One Nation last. Hanson's racism and religious bigotry is as clear as day. What about some leadership, Morrison? Not Mr. Morrison either.
Well, look, Kevin Rudd doesn't get to make decisions for the Liberal Party. We have a process for making our decisions, and as our record shows, we're in the Senate. We didn't preference them in the Senate last time. That's what our actions are. Labor got people elected on the basis of One Nation preferences at the last election, and Michael Daly thinks Asian immigrants take Australians' jobs.
Fast train.
I haven't heard Kevin Rudd call out Michael Daly, or Bill Shorten for that matter, by the way.
What's Bill Shorten done?
Well, why has Bill Shorten not disassociated himself with the comments of Michael Daly in New South Wales?
On the Asians.
Why not? You'll remember when John Howard many years ago was attacked for those things a long, long time ago.
I remember.
Labor had a lot to say about that. So where is Bill Shorten today, Tanya Plibersek, Anthony Albanese, when it comes to the leader of the Labor Party in the New South Wales Parliament?
Well, for the same reasons you won't bag One Nation. It's politically...
No, I'm sorry. This is his own party.
It's politically difficult.
This is the leader of the
election.
Labor Party in New South Wales who has said Asians are going to take people's jobs.
Fast train to Geelong. You've talked about $2 billion towards it.
Yes.
Now, you'll need... When it comes in, you'll need either Skyrail, a tunnel or acquisition. Which will it be?
Well, this is the business case that is now going to be developed.
So this is just a business case?
No, it's $2 billion down to actually make sure the project can proceed based on the business case that has to be developed. It's no different to what we did when we announced the Melbourne Airport rail link. At that stage, we didn't have a preferred route. Now we do have a preferred route. We have a heads of agreement between Dan Andrews and ourselves.
But you'd agree it's going to have to be one of those three. You can't just arrive at the edge of the city and go from 160 to 20. You either need Sky Skyrail a tunnel or acquisition?
And that's what the process will
When will we be in
determine.
it? When will it be running?
Well, at our best estimate at the moment is that within about 2 years we should be able to start construction, but there's a lot to be achieved over that time. And I know the state government has already been working on this, and that's one of the reasons why it's the project that we've decided to proceed with. But let me put it in the perspective of what this project is all about. On Wednesday, I announced, together with Alan Tudge and David Coleman, a population plan for Australia's future. Now, that's about having the right and balanced migration settings, but it's also about having the infrastructure we need to support population growth. And this project is the critical example of what the sort of infrastructure we need to ensure our cities
So
can
is it
grow.
10 years off?
Well, we have to wait for the business case to be done.
So the business
Neil.
case is 2 years off.
No, the business case will be done more quickly than that. Then you need to get into the advanced planning works, and then you need to get the tenders, and then you need to start construction. I mean, you can't go...
Sounds 10 years off.
Well, you can't go into McDonald's drive-through and get yourself a fast rail to Melbourne. You can get a few other things, I noticed.
I did want to come back to McDonald's.
But these are big projects, Neil. They can't just be done by yesterday afternoon, and they don't start unless the Commonwealth, in this case, is prepared to make this sort of a commitment of $2 billion, which we have, and we'll work with the state government. I think we're demonstrating that on Melbourne Airport Link. We took the initiative there to put our $5 billion down this time last year, and it's moving towards becoming the reality it is.
So you like the idea of Geelong being like a suburb of Melbourne?
No, it's a satellite city, and it
Yeah,
always
they wouldn't
has
like
been. It's a satellite. It's a city in its own right.
And Albury-Wodonga, you want to have a look at a business case for
Yeah, we've
Albury-Wodonga
got a
and
series of,
Traralgon.
we've got a
And the
series.
Gold
There's
Coast and
Traralgon,
Sydney.
there's Gold Coast, there's Wollongong, and there are already projects underway that we've done into Newcastle and out to Ballarat and a range of other projects. So we're serious about fast rail.
Matthew Guy did float this himself during the election campaign. Didn't do him much good.
Well,
It's pretty much his plan, isn't it? The plan he floated.
no, because what I'm announcing is an infrastructure project in the context of an entire population strategy, Neil. This isn't just one-off announcement. This is a fair and income plan to manage population growth, which involves migration settings, investments in social cohesion, planning frameworks with state and territory governments and local governments, and congestion-busting projects of over $330 million here in Victoria alone for things like Racecourse Road, where I was out there with
yesterday,
Jason Wood, $70 million for widening Racecourse Road.
That's the one in Cranbourne, not Flemington.
Yes.
The tax, there's a lot of discussion. Pakenham, I'm sorry.
Pakenham, yeah.
There's a lot of discussion about minimum wages, and you agree they're too low.
Well, they increased 3% the minimum wage.
Be hard to live on, wouldn't they?
Of course they would be, but the majority of Australians don't live on the minimum wage. The majority of Australians are actually paid above award, but those who are actually on the minimum wage, 56% of them actually work for small and family businesses, not large businesses. Less than 10% of those who are on a minimum wage are actually employed by a large business. So those who actually pay those wages are small and family businesses who oftentimes, as you know, Neil, when they're going through hard times, don't take a wage at all. So if you own a business, your wage is what you can take out of the business. And those small and family business owners often don't take any wage.
Would you look at this? If you're on the minimum wage, you're paying $70 a week tax. What about a shandy deal? Employers pay them a bit and you increase the tax-free threshold and give them some back in tax.
Well, we actually are delivering tax cuts. We've already legislated tax cuts for people.
How much will that give to somebody on the minimum wage?
Well, it can provide at that level. I think it's around about a few $100
a year.
Yeah.
I'm talking about $70 a week you take out of them now.
Well, that's not something that the budget can sustain. And what I also understand, and we also have we have a New Start system, we have family tax benefit systems, we have a whole range of other payments and supports that exist for people on low incomes. And that's actually what the Fair Work Commission found. And this is an important point, Neil. The minimum wage isn't the only form of income that people get who are on those minimum wages. And as the Fair Work Commission has found, and as the work has been done, they have a range of other income supports which help them in that situation, and that's what the Fair Work Commission takes into account. Now, they'll set what the minimum wage is. It's an independent process, and if they say it should go up, well, that's good.
I loved the fact that the child who served you at McDonald's didn't know who you were.
I think that's great too.
But how often do you go to Macca's?
Occasionally, yeah.
And a pot and a Palmer at the pub in Malvern. How often? The health police will be on to you.
Why would they be on me for going to the Malvern Hotel?
You're not allowed to eat Macca's. You're not allowed to eat Palmers. You're not allowed to drink beer.
Well, I'm pretty much like everyone else. Neil.
How often at Macca's?
I'd probably pop in about once or twice a month, maybe.
You have fries with it?
I certainly do.
Thick shake?
No, I don't go the thick shake.
Coca-Cola?
No, I just go the normal, quarter pounder meal or something like that.
And a Coke?
Yeah, it's always a Coke.
Bucket of sugar and some fat?
Yeah, a bit of that from time to time. Still not illegal.
It will be. Thank you very much for coming in.
No worries, Neil.
Prime Minister. Sorry?
Cheers. No, I was going to say how your D's going to go this year.
Everybody's too optimistic. Good game last night, though. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Prime Minister was there last night. Were you there? We've already had a few calls about the brawl. 96900 693 13 13 32. Anything you'd like.